Most new sales reps fail not because they don't want to be great at sales, but because they make these same 5 mistakes over and over again. So what we're going to cover on this video is the 5 mistakes that I see newbie sales reps making all the time. And honestly, the third one, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake that they make so frequently. I'm going to show you exactly how you can stop making those mistakes so you can accelerate your game in sales and start making more money faster at the art of sales. If you don't know me, I'm Rob Quinn. I've been in the sales game since 2010. And everything door-to-door, B2C, B2B, did 6 President's Clubs offline before building $1 million sales agency at 29 years old. And now we just manage sales teams is how we make our money. And anything down below, if you're looking for sales jobs or hire sales reps, I got links down there. You can do that completely for free. Okay, so mistake number 1 is talking too much and not asking enough questions. Now, I'm sure that y'all have heard the old adage of the 80-20 rule, right? Well, it applies to talking to people as well in all conversations, not just sales, but especially sales, because we want to be able to seek to understand somebody before we seek to be understood, meaning that we want to talk less and ask more intentional questions to be able to uncover or learn more about the person that we're trying to provide a solution for. When you do that and people feel heard, especially today, right? At the time I'm filming this video, it's like 2026, but even now we're in a time of the world where people don't feel heard, right? Because everything is very fast, transactional, AI. And with all of this stuff, if you can have somebody feel heard, you're going to build true rapport with that person. And rapport in today's world isn't, oh my God, we like the same sports team. No way. Your favorite color is blue. No way, right? Mine too. That's not building rapport. Okay, building rapport is when somebody feels totally heard and now they feel like you understand them. Remember, people buy from people they like, people buy from people like them. When they feel like you've made that kind of connection and similarities, understanding, they want to do business with you more than likely. So you want to make sure that you're talking less and asking more intentional questions. Listen back to your call recordings if you need to see if you're actually following that principle or you find yourself being the one talking 80% of the time instead of 20. The last thing I'll add to that before we go to mistake number 2 is it's very important to understand your question stack, meaning what questions are you asking in order so this way you can have a more intentional conversation and not get lost in the weeds. Because a lot of time that's what sales reps do is they'll get lost in the weeds because a prospect will say something and then they end up going down this rabbit hole that the prospect started putting together for them unintentionally. And there's a lot that goes into like the neuroscience of why prospects do that, which we're not going to get into in this video. But when that happens, it's your job as a sales professional to bring it back to your framework or script, whatever you want to call it. But it's essentially your roadmap to make sure that you can continue down the question stack, get the information you need, and know what questions you don't have to ask anymore because the prospect already gave you the information. So the more intentional your question, the more intentional your answer, the shorter your calls will be, and the more cash you can typically collect at the point of sale and typically shorten the sales cycle because you've gathered all that information in a faster amount of time. So there's not always a need for so many follow-up calls. That's why that part's very important. We'll get into more intentional questions and kind of how you could frame different parts of sales calls in other videos. So subscribe. Mistake number 2. We're getting closer to my favorite one, which is number 3. But mistake number 2 is not asking the right questions in discovery. Now, we talked a little bit about this mistake number 1 with not being intentional with your questions. Mistake number 2 in discovery, this is almost more important than anything, right? You could mess up the intro where you don't set the best frame, but you can kind of recover that in discovery. You can mess up other stuff in the collections phase of a sales call and other stages before that, but still be able to collect something, right? Because you did great discovery. But when you mess up discovery, your intro could be great, call probably won't go anywhere. Your diagnosis will likely be wrong because you messed up discovery. You're going to prescribe the wrong thing, meaning whatever your solution, product, service is. You're going to collect some money at the end of the call, maybe even not as much as you could have or not at all because you're not accommodating what's going on for the prospect in their world because you had a bad discovery. So what I'm going to do for you right now, and we'll have other videos on how to go through an entire discovery process, but I'm going to give you right now the questions I like to ask at the beginning of a discovery process, meaning you've gone through the intro and now we're trying to get to know the prospect a little bit more. If you ask these questions, your entire discovery process will be so much smoother. Okay, I always open up with number one, what would your ideal reality look like if you were to partner up with a company to do X, meaning it's whatever they're wanting from the call, right? So that could be to acquire more leads, or to get, the six pack, or to be more communicated with your kids, or to this thing, that thing, whatever. They're going to tell you their ideal situation. This is a max upside that somebody wants if they were to partner or buy from somebody, not necessarily you, but somebody, to accomplish that thing. And so this is referred to as upside. Remember, the psychology of people buy because they want something they don't have, or more of something they do have, right? So that's one thing, it's upside. They want to make sure they're not purchasing something that has given them a bad experience in the past or that they don't like. Okay, those are two reasons why people want to buy stuff. And so you got to get the ideal situation, upside. Next, we have to figure out urgency. So your next question is going to be, what have you done so far to address this? Okay, so this tells you urgency of a buyer, because if they've done a lot of things to address this, they're low-hanging fruit, right? They're taking this very seriously. They're in a lot of pain. That's why they've progressively taken more action to try to solve the problem. So typically, this is going to be what I like to refer to in the world, a sales world, as a laydown. Okay, probably going to be an easy sale if you don't talk yourself out of it. If they say they have not done very much yet to solve this thing, that means typically they're at the earlier stages of awareness in their sales cycle, meaning they may not know a lot about how to solve it, and they may not understand a lot of the things that you could do wrong to solve it. So they're really just going to probably be harder to sell on the first call. So if they've done nothing to address this, what you're going to follow up with is, and why is that? What's been holding you up or slowing you down from taking action to acquire X desire? So what's been holding you up or slowing you down from, doing a little bit more to be able to get more leads, or to get a six pack, or to have better communication? They're going to answer that, and they're going to let you know all those things. It's very, very important that you say holding you up or slowing you down, not why haven't you been able to do this, because they'll get defensive, right? It's very important to understand specific language patterns, induce specific responses in the psyche of another person, which we won't get into that in this call, or in this video, but it's very important that you understand the language that you're using in a sales call. So after you've asked them so far, what have you done to address this? You're going to say, okay, well, if they say they have done stuff, you're going to say, well, what about that was appealing that had you wanting to go in that direction in the first place? They're going to tell you. You're going to say, okay, well, what was the downside associated with that? Like, what went wrong when you did that made you not want to continue to do it? So what this tells you, now that we have upside, their ideal situation, we have urgency level, now we're going to know what are the things they like and don't like about things they've already done. Okay, so based on urgency of I've done stuff or I haven't done stuff, you're going to know now why they haven't done stuff, or you're going to know the things that they liked and didn't like about the stuff they did do. Okay, these are going to be your initial questions that you open up a call with, because if you can know everything somebody wants, everything how serious this problem is to somebody, and what they like and don't like about stuff they've done in the past, it's way easier to navigate a conversation. So as long as you do that, you're probably going to have more success in discovery. Mistake number 3. Now, again, I told you this was my favorite one, right? And I believe it happens more often than anything, is going to be pitching too early in the sales call. See it happen all the time. Now, before I get into what it means to pitch too early in a sales call, let me just say this. When you've really established mastery in the craft of sales, you're going to notice that you can ask specific questions earlier in the call to temp check the deal to see if the buyer is ready to buy. Okay, at that point, you can ask for the sale, but that is not the same as pitching a deal. Okay, asking for a sale is getting a micro commitment. So if somebody's saying, yes, they'd like to do a deal, but actually pitching the opportunity and negotiating it in a way that accommodates how they want to buy, that's separate. Okay, so we're not going to get into how they're separate in this video right now. Subscribe to my channel if you want to make sure, and hit the bell if you want to see those videos when they come out. So I'll do a lot of them. But right now we just want to focus on the pitching too early, okay? So most newbies, they pitch really early because the prospect typically controls the frame of the call. I'll give you an example. When you show up to a sales call, you're not really that confident, right? For one reason or the other, right? Either you're not the person designed to be confident, which we'll talk about that later on in other videos of personal development, or you're showing up a little bit nervous because you don't have as much information about the product, service, company, whatever. And so the prospect will control the frame of the call by saying, hey, just tell me the price. If the price is good and it's a good deal, I'll do something with you, right? But you've had no chance to build value and increase perceived value of what you're selling for somebody else, okay? Which we're not going to get into increasing perceived value and widening gaps right now, but I'm just letting you know that pitching too early a lot of time can happen because of that. Next is, as you're going through a sales call, you could feel like things are going great. The prospect is like, oh my God, I really want this. Like, I really want to do this. And what will happen is you'll go in, you'll say, okay, cool. Well, I mean, yeah, we can do this, this, and this. And, you know, all it costs is this. And you pitch too early, okay? Because just because somebody's excited to want to buy something does not mean they're far enough in the sales cycle to justify buying it, okay? Two very different things. And a lot of time it's a smokescreen, and for newbie reps, they'll see that as the buying sign, not a buying sign, okay? Because there's a sequence of buying signs that you're gonna see in a sales call. Some of them have more urgency than others to where somebody will then say, I'm ready to do this deal. Okay, so pitching too early is number 3. I think that happens more times than anything else. Okay, so mistake number 4, and I do see this one happen a lot too, and honestly, the reason why I don't focus as much on this one up front is because it's a little bit harder to teach, but weak follow-up. And so there's just so many ways to do follow-up. You could have templatized follow-up, you could have automated follow-up, you could have really customized boutique follow-up, because some sales reps are just really great talkers. So they can get really creative, they're confident, there's some crazy stuff. You know, I actually had a sales rep once selling for us, and he sent a video while he was snowboarding on the top of the slopes, just saying like, hey, it's Sunday, we're on the slope. I actually was at the top of the mountain right now thinking of you, because you could be at the top of the mountain. I'm ready to help you with that. So if you're still ready to do that, shoot me a text today and I'll get you hooked up. It was like a very simple text, very authentic in the moment. So follow-up can be boutique, it could be templatized, or it can be automated. But at the end of the day, like, you want to have something to increase frequency of touch point. We're in a world right now where people are bombarded with messaging. And it is going to be so difficult for you to just introduce yourself, or to have an initial sales call, or to cold call somebody. And just because maybe they liked the conversation, they'll still forget about you probably, right? Because there's just so many things happening in the world. And the frequency of touch points important. That could be an email, that could be a text, that could be a phone call, that could be a gift that was sent, that could be a client calling them. It's a lot of different things that a frequency of a touch, or a type of touch point, can be. And frequency is how many times it happens from the initial contact to the purchase. And so how many times should you follow up with a prospect? I get that question a lot. And to be honest, I think that, yeah, you could go off stats, but the way I see it is, if I'm a sales rep, I am going to follow up with a prospect more than my competition, right? Because the only people that follow up with your prospects or your clients more than you is your competition. So if you see it as something like that, almost like if you're competing for some kind of like physical event, track, wrestling, football, whatever, you're trying to make sure that you are working harder than the other people. If you apply that to the sport of sales, then it is almost guaranteed that you will stay in front of somebody more than somebody else will. Okay, so I kind of look at it that way, as the sport of, I'll follow up with them 100 million times. And if they think I'm annoying, then it's likely they'll think I'm really annoying after they purchase. So I'm especially going to follow up with them after they buy to make sure they're having a great experience. I get referrals and testimonials. So if you don't like me now, you wouldn't like me later. I'm glad I lost the deal on my terms. And last but not least, mistake number 5, which is poor mindset. Now, before you tune off the video, because I know it's kind of sound like woo-woo, let me tell you something right now. You heard me mention at the very beginning of this video, are you the person designed for X? Designed to win, designed to have success over here, over there. The game starts in your mind. I'm a big believer, I teach this a lot anytime I work with sales reps, and it's always whatever you believe and is deeply rooted in that, which is typically from frequency of messaging and environment. Whatever you believe is what you end up thinking, okay? So your thoughts come from your beliefs. Whatever you end up thinking is typically what you end up saying, okay? So whatever you think a lot about is typically what you talk a lot about. And anytime that you have a poor mindset of either self-talk, like shaky beliefs, anytime that happens, you're going to find yourself collapsing under pressure, under adversity, which in the sales game can be, I've had a bad string of calls. My calls are no showing. I'm not closing any deals. I'm now on a pit plan. I'm going to get fired in 30 days. I can't beat this top guy. I'm still not promoted. This other guy got promoted over me. There's so many different things that could lead to adversity. But if you have a strong mindset and you just see everything as essentially a hurdle, right, that you're going over, that probably is going to look weird on a video. But when you see a hurdle and that's all that thing is, where, oh, I got passed over on the promotion, you just tripped over the hurdle, get back up. Life's a series of hurdles, and when your mind perceives the world in that way, all you see is, okay, I just have to keep getting better at my process to go over every hurdle. And I won't skip at the roundabout on the hurdles, right? That's why mindset's important. The game starts in your mind. The more you talk to yourself with positive self-talk, the more your beliefs shift. Because remember, what is a belief? A belief is frequency of messaging combined with environment. The more you hear and see something, the more you start to shift your belief around something. When your belief becomes shifted, your thoughts become shifted. And where do the things we say come from? Our thoughts. Where do our thoughts come from? Our beliefs. So when you can work on this chain of how to refine your thinking and rewire your mind, from there, you're going to have better actions. You have better actions, you have better output. What is output? Maybe it's more appointment set. Maybe it's more closed deals. Maybe it's more referrals. Maybe it's more testimonials. Maybe it's a better attitude, so you're showing up, so people want to consider you for more things. Better output typically always leads to better situations in life. And that's all I got for you today, guys. So that was the 5 mistakes I see most newbies making in sales. I mean, I would argue that some experienced people make them too. But if that video is helpful for you, just comment down below what you got as the biggest takeaway, or the videos you'd like me to see. And obviously, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you're a sales rep or looking for jobs, or a business owner looking for sales reps, I've got nothing to sell you on that. There's a website that I own down below for a company called Rep Match, and you'll be able to go just find great offers, or post great jobs, find great reps, etc. If you're a business owner looking for somebody to manage your team, then obviously that's how we make our money. So I got a link down below too, and you can inquire with that. We bring on 3 businesses per quarter to do that for. So hope this is helpful for y'all. I'll catch you on the next video.